Let's get started. It was a quiet Monday evening, and the clock was close to 7:30. I had been focused on a challenging project in my home office, with many tasks still left unfinished. Wanting to end the day, I walked into the softly lit kitchen, took a chilled bottle of my favorite Indian pale ale from the fridge, and had a sip. My eyes wandered to the window, and there she was, Joy, sitting comfortably on the outdoor sofa near the fire pit and pool. Her legs were tucked beneath her, and she was talking excitedly on the phone. I thought about going outside to join her, but stopped when I noticed her familiar habit of twirling a strand of her blonde hair around her finger. It was a small, unconscious habit I had come to know well over nearly 30 years together. This little gesture, never flirtatious, had always seemed deeply personal to me, a reminder of all the late-night phone calls we shared while I was away on business trips. I would often imagine her just like this, twisting her hair without even thinking, even when we were miles apart. That simple memory used to comfort me during those lonely nights. Through the window, I saw her glowing smile and heard her cheerful laughter. Her presence seemed to light up the cool evening. I couldn't see the sparkle in her eyes from where I stood, but I was sure it was there. Still, as I kept watching, my feelings began to shift. What started as admiration slowly turned into unease. She looked too engaged, too happy, as if she was talking to someone who meant something special to her. For 45 long minutes I stood there, watching her share what seemed like a deeply personal connection, one that I wasn't a part of. When she finally ended the call, the dreamy smile still on her face felt like a sharp pain in my chest. Feeling empty, I walked to the family room and turned on the TV, pretending to care about a local baseball game. A short time later, Joy came in and asked, "How long have you been done with work?" "A while," I answered with little emotion. "Why didn't you come out back?" she asked. "You were on the phone." "I didn't want to interrupt," I said casually. "Oh, for heaven's sake, that was just Steve. We were talking about the Phillips account," she explained, brushing it off. I nodded and turned back to the game, but I could feel her watching me, as if trying to read what I was really thinking. She left for the kitchen and came back a moment later with a glass of wine, then sat down next to me on the couch. "What's the score?" she asked. "Not sure," I replied honestly. She let out a soft chuckle. "Do you even know who the Sox are playing?" "The Blue Jays," I answered without much thought. We sat quietly through half an inning until a commercial break gave her a reason to speak again. "Let's invite the kids over for a barbecue this Saturday," she suggested. "Sure," I replied shortly. She tried to start a conversation, but my short and uninterested replies seemed to discourage her. After a moment she asked, "Chris, what's wrong?" "Nothing," I lied. "You're not acting like yourself tonight. Do you want to talk about it?" she asked gently. "No," I said firmly. The silence stretched into the next inning until, maybe to break the tension, she stood up and casually took off her blue V-neck t-shirt. With a playful smile she said, "How about turning off the TV and coming upstairs? I'm sure I can help you unwind." "Not tonight, Joy. I'm not in the mood," I said flatly. Her smile grew as she reached for me. "Come on, big guy. Mama needs you," she teased. I looked her in the eye and said coldly, What part of not in the mood don't you understand? Her smile disappeared. What's your problem? I was just trying to be kind, she said defensively. Joy, you turn me down at least twice a week. The one time I say no, you act like a child. Grow up and leave me alone, I replied sharply. She stared at me, her expression like ice, before storming out of the room. For the first time in our marriage, I ended up sleeping in the guest room, or rather lying awake, staring at the ceiling, making a plan in my mind. By 3 a.m., I realized there was no point in staying in bed. I showered in the kids' old bathroom, then quietly entered the master bedroom to grab my clothes without waking her. Before heading to work, I installed tracking apps on both her personal and work phones, linking them to my devices. Despite arriving at the office with a pounding headache and too much caffeine in my system, I pushed through and completed an important presentation. It was crucial to stay focused. My 2-day business trip was starting early the next morning. Tuesday evening was cold and distant. We exchanged only a few words, and there was no trace of intimacy between us. By Wednesday morning, I was heading to the airport for a 7:20 a.m. flight. The day itself went smoothly. I made strong progress with the client and felt hopeful about closing the deal. Still, every few hours I checked Joy's location. She was either at home or at work. Yet a feeling of doubt stayed with me. That night, while I ate alone in the Marriott lounge, I looked at the tracker again. At 7:30 p.m., her location suddenly showed up in an upscale neighborhood far from our home. The address: her boss's house. My suspicions solidified. The following months were tense but passed quickly. I stayed polite but emotionally distant, while Joy made visible efforts to fix our relationship. When we were intimate, it felt forced, empty of real emotion. Tracking her location confirmed what I feared. She kept her affair limited to the times I was away. Hidden cameras I had installed around our home showed her packing bags and leaving for Steve's house whenever I traveled. On a lawyer's recommendation, I hired a private investigator. The evidence he gathered left no room for doubt. Joy and Steve were seen together in intimate moments, in his backyard, exposed and careless despite trying to be secretive. The photos were undeniable. With this proof in hand, I began quietly preparing for what I now knew was unavoidable. On Thursday evening, I made the hardest phone calls of my life, to our 3 adult children. Explaining that I planned to divorce their mother brought me to tears each time. When they asked questions, I simply said, "Do you want me to show you the evidence?" None of them had an answer. By Friday morning, the process had officially begun. Nearly 30 years of marriage had come to a painful and undeniable end. Thankfully, none of my children asked to see the proof. That gave me a small sense of relief. Later, Joy answered her phone on the 4th ring. "Hey, sweetheart. This is a nice surprise. How are your meetings going?" she asked warmly. "Hey, love. Same old routine. You know how these things are. How's work?" I asked calmly. "I'm just glad it's Friday. I've been counting down the days until you're home. It's been such a lonely week, and I'm really hoping we can make up for it this weekend," she replied with a playful tone. Her careful choice of words didn't go unnoticed. Over the past few months, I had learned to spot Joy's habit of skipping over certain details. She went on. "So, what made you call me all of a sudden?" "I have a question," I began carefully. "It might sound odd, but I want an honest answer. This must be serious. You hardly ever call like this." "What's going on?" she asked, sounding curious. "Do you like my smile?" "Yes." "Your smile." "What kind of question is that?" she replied, slightly confused. "Of course I love your smile. You've said that many times before," I reminded her. "It was actually the first thing you ever said to me. Remember that night at the fraternity party? You walked right over, left your friends behind, and told me, 'You've got a great smile.'" Her tone changed. I could hear the tension creeping in. "Chris, what's going on? You're starting to scare me." I tried to keep my voice calm. "I've always tried to stay positive, to see the good. Even when life was hard, being with you and raising our 3 amazing kids made everything feel worthwhile. That's one of the things I love most about you," she said softly. "Your hope, your smile, your strength. All of it. You're everything a man should be, Chris. I love you for that." That's when the tears came, and I couldn't hold them back. Despite everything, I could still feel her love for me, and that made what I had to say even harder. Her voice grew more urgent. "Chris. Christopher Harrington. Tell me what's wrong, please." Her genuine concern only made the pain sharper. "I don't think I can smile anymore," I said quietly after a long pause. The silence that followed felt endless. I imagined her mind racing, trying to understand what I meant. "Chris, you're scaring me. Just tell me what's going on," she begged. "It's too late, Joy. Talking won't fix anything now," I replied. "No, don't say that. It's never too late for us. We can fix this, we can fix anything together," she pleaded, her voice starting to crack. I shook my head, even though she couldn't see it. "A real conversation needs trust, respect, and love. I know you still love me, Joy, and I love you too. But I can't trust you anymore. And you've lost respect for me. Without those, there's no path forward." She tried to speak, but I continued. "Respect is gone, Joy." Then I gave her the final instruction. "Go to the living room window." "What? Chris, what are you talking about?" she asked, panic rising. "Get up from Steve's lounge chair, walk through his kitchen, and look out the front window," I said firmly. The line went silent, until I heard her scream. "Oh God! Well, he knows. Chris knows." From my spot, just 75 feet away, parked in Steve's driveway, I watched through the front window. Joy stood frozen beside Steve Davis, her lover, her boss, and the owner of the house. The sunlight blurred some of the details, but their outlines were impossible to mistake. I got into the U-Haul truck, reversed it, and then stopped sharply in the circular driveway. Boxes slid out, tumbling onto the pavement and the lawn. The sound of glass and delicate items breaking was loud, sharp and final. Among the shattered pieces were what remained of her great-grandmother's china. Joy stepped outside, wearing the bikini I had given her as an anniversary gift, the one she kept only for him. Steve followed behind her, looking uncomfortable, wrapped in a robe. They didn't notice the unfamiliar car parked nearby until a woman stepped out, walked up to them, and handed each of them a yellow envelope. "Joy Harrington, you've been served," she said, snapping a photo. Then she turned to Steve. "Stephen Davis, you and your firm, Smith, Davis and Lewis, have also been served." Another click of the camera, and she walked away without another word. For a moment no one moved. Finally I spoke, my voice steady and loud enough to carry across the front yard. "I think we can all agree. I deserve better than a dishonest, unfaithful wife." Joy let out a small groan but said nothing. Turning to Steve, I said, "Get in touch with my lawyer and make a generous settlement offer, or I'll make sure you and your firm are finished." Then I turned to Joy. "Sign the papers. We're over." Without waiting for a reply, I got back into the truck and drove away, leaving behind their shocked faces and my shattered past. And that, my friend, is the end of the story. If this story moved you, please give it a royal like and subscribe to the channel. May strength and peace be with you always.